special edition of Scott Fox After 9. This is going to be one of those short episodes that focuses on one specific topic. I'm going to try and make it quick, but I want to get you caught up on the latest sovereignty talk here in Canada. And I don't mean the sovereignty of our country. I mean the sovereignty of provinces from Canada. In Alberta, the separatist movement seems to be growing, and there's a lot of talk about it right now because it's been leaked that members of the Alberta separatist movement have met with senior officials in Washington to talk about what it might look like if Alberta becomes sovereign from the rest of Canada. In Quebec, this is going to come up again very soon because they're having a provincial election. And when you look at the polls, a separatist party is likely to win that election, and that could bring about a referendum there as well. So with provinces talking about leaving our Canadian Union, I feel like every Canadian has got a vested interest in finding out what's going on. Give me just a couple of minutes here. I'm going to play a bunch of audio for you from our leaders, and you can hear where everybody stands. I'm going to offer a little bit of commentary here. And before I get into it, let me just quickly declare my bias. I want you to know that I am a conservative. I'm also a patriot. I do not want to see this country ripped apart. However, I'm very sympathetic to the real concerns, specifically of the people of Alberta, and I think they need to be rectified. So let's go through it. I'm going to try and get you up to speed real quick. Yesterday in Ottawa, the premiers and the prime minister all met. Prime Minister Carney opened up that meeting with a quote from Sir John A. Macdonald.
We're convening in the Sir John A. Macdonald building. Sir John A. believed that our nation's strength lay in its unity. And he said that, and I quote, "Canada is great in territory, great in resources, great in enterprise, great in capital." That's truer than ever. Our country is more united, ambitious, and determined than it has been in decades. And it's incumbent on all of us to seize this moment, build big things together.
That is a little misleading of the Prime Minister to suggest that we are united because there are two provinces where sovereignty is definitely a topic of conversation. Are we united? Hard to say, because the premiers themselves all have disputes and disagreements over various things that want to get done in order to shore up our sovereignty and remain an independent nation and not be swallowed up by the Americans or any other country. So let's go through some of the reaction to what happened yesterday when word leaked that members of the Alberta separatist movement have been meeting with members of the Trump administration in Washington. Now, the suggestion here is that they're trying to leave Canada so that Alberta could become the 51st state. And there hasn't been a vote on it in Alberta yet, but it is likely coming. Here is Alberta Premier Danielle Smith.
I would expect that the U.S. administration would respect Canadian sovereignty and that they would confine their discussion about Alberta's democratic process to Albertans and to Canadians. And I will raise that with my delegate in Washington so he can raise it with members of the administration. And I will raise it with my delegate in Ottawa so he can raise it with the U.S. ambassador.
That's pretty much the response I would expect from Premier Smith in this situation when she finds out members of the Alberta sovereignty movement have been meeting with members of the Trump administration to talk about something. I've heard it was to discuss a line of credit from the Americans to pay off the cost of separation from the rest of Canada. Now, Premier Smith did go a little further when a question was asked by a member of the media. Here again is Premier Danielle Smith.
I've always been clear that me and our United Conservative Caucus are supportive of a strong and sovereign Alberta within a united Canada. That is one of the bills that we passed when I first came in. But I think we also have to be realistic that 10 years under Justin Trudeau's government, our province was relentlessly attacked. Our economy was relentlessly attacked, not only for our economy, but our provincial rights and also our personal freedoms and our way of life. And so when you look at the polls, they suggest as many as 30% of Albertans have lost hope. That's about 1 million people. And I'm not going to demonize or marginalize a million of my fellow citizens when they've got legitimate grievances. What we need to do is we need to give Albertans hope. We need to show them not just tell them, not just words, but with actions that Canada can work. And that's what I've been doing. That's why I signed an agreement with the Prime Minister in November so that we could work in common cause on correcting some of the mistakes, I would say, of the Trudeau government. And it's why we participate in these kinds of First Ministers' conferences so that we can find the things that we agree on and work together for that, for the betterment of the country. And I think this is a very powerful table that has been able to do that for the last 3 years that I've been on it. And I'm honored and delighted to be here.
Premier Smith, I think, is playing this very brilliantly. You cannot just dismiss the concerns of over 1 million people. There's a lot of folks in Alberta that feel they've been taken advantage of and used, and really, like Ottawa, just uses them as an ATM. They take out a whole bunch of money and they splash it around to other parts of the country, namely for electoral purposes. We all remember when Justin Trudeau was Prime Minister, he told Alberta they had to keep their biggest export in the ground. He did not want Alberta exporting any more oil, and he demonized their dirty oil and so on and so forth. But of course, Alberta's resources are the key to prosperity for the people of Alberta. Do they have a legitimate concern? I'm going to say, yes, they do. And I think they were treated badly. And now that separatism is on the agenda, what do we do from here? I think Danielle Smith is absolutely right. I don't think we demonize them. I don't think we call them names. I think we offer them hope and offer them the prospect that things can be different. If they stay with Canada, we can make this the great country that they want it to be. However, not all premiers have got the memo. Let's go to the Premier of British Columbia, David Eby. Listen to his very harsh comments for the separatists in Alberta.
I'd like to just take and pause a moment. I read an article last night in the Financial Times about a group of people from Alberta, I won't describe them as Albertans, who went to the White House seeking the assistance of the United States to break up our country. Now, I understand the desire to hold a referendum, to talk about the issues you want to talk about in Canada. We got free speech, that's important. But to go to a foreign country and to ask for assistance in breaking up Canada, there's an old-fashioned word for that, and that word is treason. It is completely inappropriate to seek to weaken Canada, to seek to go and ask for assistance to break up this country from a foreign power. And with respect, a president who has not been particularly respectful of Canada's sovereignty. I'm going to be raising that issue at this table. I think that while we can respect the right of any Canadian to express themselves, to vote in a referendum, I think we need to draw the line at people seeking the assistance of foreign countries to break up this beautiful land of ours that our forefathers, our foremothers, our parents, our grandparents fought for. There is a line. And especially at this time when all Canadians have to pull together, I think we can speak as one voice about conduct like that.
Premier David Eby suggesting these people are traitors because they met with the Trump administration. I just want to point out as a counterpoint, number one, now that Justin Trudeau is gone, helping fuel the sovereignty movement in Alberta is none other than David Eby himself, with his policies where he does not want Alberta to be able to develop their resources and build a pipeline to get their oil out to the coast so they can ship it around the world. David Eby is standing squarely in the way, and that is something that Albertans want done. For him to call them traitors? Think of it this way. The people of Alberta are going to vote on whether or not they want to leave Canada, be a sovereign nation within Canada, similar to the arrangement that Quebec has. And what is the other alternative? Could they join the Americans? Well, before anybody commits to that, they need to know what that would look like. Nobody should vote on whether or not they should leave Canada unless they understand what the alternative is. To me, I don't like it. I really don't want Alberta to leave, but I don't blame Albertans for wanting to know what the alternative is and giving Albertans a specific choice. Stay in Canada, and it will look like this. Remain a sovereign nation within Canada, and it'll look like this. Join the United States, and it'll look like this. Is there an offer to discuss? I think the people of Alberta deserve all of the information that is available so that they can make this decision eyes wide open and know exactly what's at stake. I have a feeling that calling these people traitors is certainly not going to help. That's my opinion. Here is the Premier of Saskatchewan, Scott Moe.
The Premier of Ontario said yesterday it'd be a catastrophe if the Parti Québécois were to win the next election in Quebec this coming fall. What are your thoughts on that?
We're in a democracy, so whoever gets the most votes is going to win that election. I would just say very thankful for the leadership Francois Legault has provided. I've had the opportunity to serve with him for some 7 years around the Council of Federation table here today. I think it does speak to some broader concerns that many Canadians in various parts of the country have when it comes to the relationship with some of the federal policies over the course of the last decade. In Quebec, maybe that's even longer than that. But I think the opportunity that we have, and the opportunity we have here today, is actually to come together on behalf of all of Canada. In the trade relations and market relations and the regulatory opportunities that we have to attract additional investment, to really aspire to have that strongest economy in the G7, and that includes many industries that are employing people in Quebec. So the people of Quebec are going to speak. That will be what it'll be.
But do you think if the PQ wins, do you think it would weaken Canada's position vis-a-vis Mr. Trump?
Well, we'll see what that'll do. Not necessarily. I think the PQ has made some economic statements as well as to what they might look at in that space. And there is some challenges. We're seeing that in Saskatchewan. I think you're seeing it in Alberta as well. We very much believe as a government in Saskatchewan that we will continue to be a very autonomous province within a very strong nation of Canada. And that is what we're here today to discuss is, how can we strengthen the economic opportunities that not only we have in Saskatchewan, but what we have as Canada when it comes to our market access and whatnot as well.
Okay, Premier Scott Moe, a much more measured approach, seems to agree with Premier Smith from Alberta that we're not going to demonize people. And you know what? They do have valid, legitimate concerns. And it should be on all of us to try and address those concerns, not demonize them, not shame them, not call them traitors. That's probably a bad approach if we're trying to get these people to back off on their sovereignty movement and try and hold Canada together as it is now. Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew.
There was some conversation yesterday among premiers about different referenda. Don't get a chance to use the word plural of referendum very often, so I'm going to use it, referenda. We had some conversations, and the joke that I said from Manitoba's perspective is like, wow, all this referendum talk makes me want to have a referendum too, except in Manitoba, the question is going to be, do you want to stay a part of Canada? And the two choices are going to be yeah and heck yeah. So that's where we're coming from.
Okay, Premier Kinew seeming to suggest that Manitobans really don't have any interest in sovereignty. I guess that's good to know, but then again, once the sovereignty movement starts to speed up in other provinces, that could change at any time. Let's now hear from Ontario Premier Doug Ford. Doug Ford had a few things to say, and we'll start off with him talking about sovereignty potentially for the province of Quebec.
I can tell you, Quebec is stronger in Canada, and Canada is stronger with the Quebec. I love Quebecers. I don't know. There's some connection with myself and Quebecers. I got to start learning French, by the way, but I just connect with them. Every time I meet people from Quebec, we connect.
Okay, that was Premier Ford taking the opportunity to drop in the line, I got to start learning French. That is a clear indication that he, again, is going to go after Pierre Poilievre's job, and he wants to run for the federal Conservative leadership and wants to be Prime Minister. Of course, you likely would not be able to do that unless you can speak French. That's the only reason he would drop that line in there. Now let's go to Premier Ford talking about the separatists in Alberta that met with the Trump administration.
You know, something I'm dead against that. Going behind Canada's back and negotiating is unacceptable. We're one country, and we should all be sticking together. We shouldn't have groups going around the federal government's back or the province's back to negotiate something with the U.S. We all know where President Trump stands. He wants Canada, and that's not going to happen. We'll fight with every tool we have. So I find that unacceptable.
Okay, Premier Ford kind of walking the line between what David Eby said and what the premiers of Alberta and Saskatchewan had to say. Friends, at the moment, we aren't voting, but very soon there will be a referendum in Alberta. It's likely there will be another referendum in Quebec as well. It's time for people to start thinking about how they want Canada to look and if we want Alberta and Quebec to remain in the Federation. I'm going to suggest demonizing people, calling them names, not validating their very real concerns is the wrong approach. In my humble opinion, I think the best way we handle this and try and keep Canada together is address the issues. Quebec has got a different set of issues than Alberta. In Alberta, they really want to be prosperous. They really want to get their product out to market, and they really don't want to be taken advantage of and dictated to by Ottawa. They want a stronger seat at the table, and they want prosperity for the people of Alberta. That's the episode for today. Very short. I just wanted you to hear the audio that came out yesterday from the First Minister's Conference in Ottawa and also from the Prime Minister. Sovereignty of various provinces is on the table, and we're going to have to tread very lightly going forward if we want Canada to remain the way it is. Stay tuned for a listener DMs episode. That'll be out next in your feed. Have a great weekend, and don't forget Monday, I'll be talking all about the Conservative Convention, which is happening this weekend, and the leadership review for Pierre Poilievre. All that and more next week on Scott Fox After 9.
Oh, yeah.